today's topic, when I was thinking about who should I talk with, who'd be a great partner in it, I thought of Terry because you're very well-rounded, so much experience, but you have also, through the years, been an incredible business partner to me and to the Walmart team. And so you are a natural fit for me. Today,
a business partner that met you in 1990, I think.
I started Walmart September of 1990. I showed up.
Yes.
And I met you soon after.
Yeah.
And I was at the bottom of my ladder at that time. So it's been how many years? 35?
35.
We were just talking about.
Just amazing.
But today the title would be collaboration, and then even taking it a step further, how do you get to the place of mutually beneficial relationships in business? It's not just good for the retailer. The supplier benefits to the point that they grow stronger as the retailer grows stronger. And to me, that as we move on into the future, it's critical to understand with all of this noise, all of these responsibilities that we just talked about, how do you still make time for that? Because to me, that collaboration is just fundamental to everything in business.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't do it by yourself.
No, that's exactly right. And, you had mentioned to me before that you'd heard the word collaboration a lot at the most recent Walmart summit.
They want collaboration.
Yes. And I've had other people, my son particularly was there as well, and he was very encouraged by what he heard from Latrice. And, specifically that she wanted every supplier in the room to feel like Walmart was their favorite customer. And that's certainly the way, that created a lot of growth and a lot of strength for Walmart over the years. As we said, what has changed a little bit is time because of the complexities of the business and what everybody has to do. And you certainly need some time, but you've got to have open, honest communication. And that takes some time, so that's a little bit of a challenge. And then if you can add some historical perspective to it, I think that helps. Certainly for every supplier, Walmart, Amazon, Target, they're going to be big customers of theirs, so they understand the importance. There's been a lot of turnover of personnel, both on the supplier and the retailer side. A lot of people, I've been in this business long enough that a lot of people have retired along with me. But COVID, I think, also scared a lot of people off and brought a lot of new people in. And for that reason, if you can sit down and have a meeting and you can start maybe with every retailer has their version of a scorecard, or at least some discussion of past historical business. What has this supplier meant to me in the past? Has this been is this a relatively new supplier that I've just started doing business with, and things are going okay, but we've got things to prove in the future? Or is this somebody that has been a strategic partner that we've done a lot of business and a lot of good things together? That helps at least prioritize the time that you need to spend. And there's no doubt that I can't imagine the supplier matrix that suppliers or that retailers have now when you throw e-com in with store assortment.
So talk to me about that. So historical perspective, what if there's a new strategy and, the retailer in this case wants to go a different direction than in the past, or augment it, then, and you're a historical supplier.
Okay.
Are you still important?
Well, let's talk about what that new direction is, because quite honestly, once again, we said open, honest communication. If my historical perspective, my success has been in knits, and now they want to do something in wovens, and I don't make wovens, then it's up to me to say, you know what? Because the mistake that most suppliers make is, I can make anything. don't worry
I may have
about
heard
it.
that a time or two,
You
Terry.
may have heard that a time or two. You know what? Not everybody can make everything. So that's a significant change, and they're typically not that significant. So what is the strategy? Which direction do you want to go in? What are the benchmarks for that strategy? What is the trend behind that strategy? Buyers, all over are really being challenged for innovation and newness. And that's what we want to see when we go into a store. I mean, if you go into a store a few times or you go online to buy something, and you constantly see the same thing, you start to lose interest. It's like a restaurant that never changes its menu. After a while, even if I like the restaurant, I've eaten most of the things on here, and I'm going to look for something else.
Well, you have to hit the wants as well as the needs.
Exactly. So, but what I think, while you're reaching for innovation and newness, if you have a supplier that you've had a lot of success with, then there's no reason a longtime supplier can't bring innovation and newness. Innovation and newness doesn't mean newness in the supplier. It means newness in the assortment or whatever's being brought. And if you can have a conversation that says, look, this is really what I'm looking for now. This is the trend that I've seen. This is what I'm happy with. This is where I'm getting my benchmarks. Then, and you give the supplier an opportunity at least to bring that back to you, because it is so difficult. I mean, every major retailer has a different way of doing business. Target is very different from Walmart, is very different from Amazon. And there's a learning curve that can cost both sides a lot of money. And, there's a learning curve to get through the testing that needs to be done. There's a learning curve that goes through the distribution channels. There's a learning curve that goes through how do we replenish this. There's a learning curve that goes through how do we manage this business to success. So before you leave somebody that knows how to do all those things for a new supplier, it's worth at least challenging the supplier that's in place to see what can be done to bring you the newness that you're looking for or the innovation that you're looking for.
But there is a place for new suppliers.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Because you and I know apparel, but let's talk about some other areas. So many new unique things crop up in a direct-to-consumer model, right? And then they want to leverage a brick and mortar, right? And that new item wouldn't be available to a large, viewing of customers if they weren't given the time, to have a seat at the table with the retailer.
Absolutely. And once again, that's what it comes down to is time. How much time do we have to do that? How much time can we devote to that? And how relevant or how much of the business does it really affect? So there's so many things that go into prioritizing how to get about to that. And, the other thing that it's not just experience that is important in a relationship. The trust that you have, I've always kind of thought of it as if you're a buyer and you're trusting me with this program, it might be a round wreck or it might be whatever it may be, but if it's a major program, you're trusting me with a good part of the success of your department. You also maybe, if I don't deliver this up to your expectations and on time and in full, then I put at risk your sales goals. I put at risk your bonus. Let's face it, you're
getting personal now, Terry.
Yeah. We're all in this to make money.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
Those are the things that are at risk. So my own personal philosophy that I've always tried to pass on to the salespeople that work for me is if I sell this buyer, this retailer something that is financially successful and does well, and I execute it, then I have a chance to do business with them again going forward. If I don't, then they've got every right to move their business on down the line and do business with somebody else, and I don't want that to happen.
Right. Exactly. And, the trust is definitely a two-way street.
Trust can come a lot through how a business is managed. I'm giving you this business. I'm giving you this to manage. Take care of it for me. And I think, examples of taking what we always try, whether it's a 500,000 unit order, 100,000 unit order, or 1 million, if it's a large order, you've got a pretty good idea within the first 3 or 4 weeks. If you've, once again, collaborated, you've shared ladder plans, you know the expectations, what does a win look like for both sides. Within the first 3 or 4 weeks, you've got an idea if you're going to make that sales plan or not, or at least you've got a pretty good inkling. So if, it was a 1 million unit program and you're exceeding sales plan, delivering that good news, that's easy. That is so easy. Another way I always thought you could judge a good salesperson is how well he delivers bad news and how quickly and accurately he delivers it. Because if that 1 million unit program based on sales is going to be lucky to sell through at 60 or 65%, then how do we address that? And those are difficult conversations because that means I've got to go either suggest a rollback that could cost us money, or I've got to go suggest how do we get out of some of these units.
Well, and I would think it would always be kind of the seller's dilemma if something's not running on time.
Yeah.
When you say, I can fix it, I can handle it myself, we can deliver it on time, and you stay quiet, right, and you don't divulge it to your retail partner, versus when you do, because you don't want to bring them every issue. You want to try and solve it, but there has to be that line in the sand for you of, they deserve to know, here's everything we're still going to do to try our best. But I'm sure you've come across that in your career many times.
No, that's absolutely true, because early, if you're 6 weeks out on a delivery and your factory tells you we're running a little bit behind here, well, what does that mean? Can you specify that? And can we fix it? What can we do? And there's always something a supplier can do, because you can devote another line to that product. You have to take it from somewhere else, but you can devote another line to that product, or you can run overtime on that product. And so there are ways to fix things if you're 6 weeks out. There are ways to fix things if you're 4 weeks out. But when you're 2 to 3 weeks out, if they're still telling you they're going to run late, then there's a really good chance they're going to run late.
You got to raise a flag.
Yes, you got to. Yeah, you've got to have a conversation.
Well, and from my point on the trust, suppliers that would tell me that, I won't say I was just good at it at the beginning, but being a trusted partner back, if let's say you brought that to me and you're going to be 2 weeks late.
Yep.
Okay. I would look at my entire assortment. Am I open to buy? Can I afford for this to be late, or can I not? Is it detrimental, or is it just an inconvenience?
Yeah.
And anytime that I could, whether it with the supplier, I would. And the idea was that it's not hurting the ultimate customer. I can weather it within my assortment, and there's going to be a time when I'm going to need their help.
Yeah.
And so it works both ways.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I would even go so far to say, any big business situation I found myself in that wasn't good, trusted suppliers, and I'm not talking at all about sharing things that shouldn't be shared.
Sure.
But things that were appropriate, like within the two businesses, they would help me come up with the best solution to solve it.
Yeah.
I could come up with any solution, but the best required more than one mind on the subject.
Yeah, and it takes a willingness to do that. I mean, if you've got a partnership and you've got somebody that you've been doing business with for a long time, maybe within a week you have to say, okay, we're going to have to expedite the freight on all of this. That costs a significant amount of money, or maybe you do that. Or maybe I come to you and I say, Deanna, you know what? We're going to be 2 weeks late. There's nothing I can do about that. I'll help you at the end of the season, and we'll take in less inventory, or I'll help you with a markdown, or I'll do something to prevent this from really harming the overall financial results. There's lots of ways. Once again, it goes back to an open, honest communication back and forth that you can solve that you can solve problems.
And I think it's long term too, Terry, because, okay, let's say we have that one season. If you have it repeated seasons, the trust goes down. Like, the money in the bank of trust goes down over time, right? Because this supplier has trouble being consistent, right? If it's a one-time occurrence and they've told me that and we work through it together, your bank of trust goes up, right? And so, early in a merchant's career, you may tend to think that the suppliers have buckets of money they walk around with all the time. Just, here's some for you. And some for you. The more I learned the business model of my partner, I feel like I was able to make better decisions for my own business. Right? Because, one of my friends told me, when you know better, you do better. But it was the making sure that I understood the suppliers' puts and takes, what they needed to run their business more efficiently, helped us both make more decisions that ultimately found their way to the customer and value.
I had a chance to talk to a young man who was being recruited by Walmart. He was from Duke. And, he said, is there any advice that you would give me? And I said, well, if you know that you're sitting down across from whatever department you're in, you're sitting down with a supplier, and this supplier you've done business with for a while, his best interest is served if he sells you something that you sell. So try to always remember that, because for him to sell you something that you don't sell, eventually you're not going to do business with him. And so try that takes some trust. And I think you had mentioned this once before. You'll kind of get an idea of the people that you can trust in business and the kind of people that you can't. Obviously, if you've got somebody that, doesn't tell you that he's going to have a problem with the delivery until the day before, or he has told you that he would do something that he doesn't do. There's all of those kinds of things. But you get kind of an idea, and that's where, to the degree that you can move, I think inherently there's a adversarial relationship that can be thought of in a buyer-seller relationship where he just wants to sell me something, and so I can't trust him. That's if you could try to move beyond that and understand that they want to do well, so you do well, so they can do well again.
Now you're saying that all of our cost negotiations went extremely smooth, right?
Oh no, no. What we loved about and still love about Walmart was the cost negotiations are always, they're always tough. They're always tough as can be. But once you've agreed upon a price, then you don't have, there's certain retailers that will nickel and dime you to death over any, there is never a final price. So, you have to be competitive on a worldwide basis. Or go look for something else to do.
The world is a competition. I say that all the time.
Yes.
And it really is. So bring your A game, right? And things tend to work out the way they should. So, Terry, you've given us lots of things to think about today, and just given me an opportunity to reflect as well. Is there a particular story or two that you could leave our viewers with of just kind of like how this has been played out in your career?
Sure. Well, from a partnership standpoint and how that's played out for both parties, I think, we talked about the COVID crisis and what we were able to do when you guys said, okay, this is somebody that we think can help us with that. But beyond that, we had a meeting with you and then Andy Barron back in, I want to say it was it was 2019. And this was just a yearly or semi-annual meeting to kind of say, okay, this is, introductory. Here's what we're doing to invest in our business. Here's what we're doing to align with your strategic goals. And at the end of that meeting, we said, we had a large workwear business with a national brand, and we were a licensee. And we were making products that they weren't really that good at, but they were in apparel.
You kind of rounded out that assortment,
yes,
right?
exactly. And that business grew with you and a couple of other retailers to be maybe 15% of the total business we were doing. And that brand was bought by another national brand that already had a workwear business in place. And it was about the time that our licensing agreement was about to be renegotiated. And they decided that they could make those products that we were making. And, if you make a product yourself and sell it, then you realize the entire margin versus just a royalty margin.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were about to lose that license and lose a huge chunk of our business. And you suggested another brand that might be really good in workwear. And we had thought about that brand a little bit. And, I'm pretty sure what I said was, Deanna, if you guys could say something to that brand for us, endorse us as a, reliable workwear supplier that you've counted on, it would mean a lot to us moving forward with them. And you did that. And that business today is about twice as large as the business that we had with the other brand. It also brought a new brand into the workwear assortment, which was good because at the time there was only about one brand. So it brought in some competition between two national brands.
Well, and that's exactly, beyond the fact that, I like you, and I didn't do it for that reason.
No, I understand that.
But it was because my customer needed an additional choice,
Yeah.
right? And the world is a competition.
Yes.
And so being an advocate for my customer, we needed to offer more breadth of assortment, which meant an additional brand. And it played out very well. And I think you have an ongoing, relationship, Interdeco, with that national retailer going forward. All I did was make an introduction, but me knowing
that was a lot.
but me knowing what you needed, right? Collaboration on an ongoing basis allowed me to play a role in connecting the dots. If I hadn't been curious enough to ask, it wouldn't have happened.
No.
And that ultimately, I think, is just one way collaboration, and then going beyond that to what's mutually beneficial for both businesses.
Yep.
It takes a little more thoughtful effort than just let's work together on something.
Yeah.
And as the supplier gets stronger, the retailer gets stronger, and the support continues. So, easier said than done. But with everything there is to be done in this omnichannel world, there's one truth I know, is that we're not going back.
Yeah.
Right? It's here to stay. Number two, we have to figure out a way to take care of the two channels as one, but also get back to what I believe is the foundational strength of a business, and its collaboration.
Yeah, without a doubt. The supplier-retailer relationship, the business continues to be extremely competitive out there. We see every day headlines about how, it's really the two behemoths now, Walmart and Amazon, are fighting it out. And whatever advantage you can gain can make the difference. And I think your ability to really optimize your supplier base and put them in exactly the position that Latrice said she wanted every supplier in that room to value. Really what she was saying is, I want you to value our business more than any other retailer you're doing business with. And that comes from collaboration and great supplier-retailer relationships.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Terry, I've enjoyed this immensely. I could talk longer. We may just go get coffee after this and continue the conversation. But thank you so much for joining us today on Doing Business in Bentonville. To our viewers, listeners, thank you for joining us. Please give us feedback. you can leave it on the Doing Business in Bentonville website, or you can look at my LinkedIn, Deanah Baker. And I would love to hear your comments, your feedback, and it'll just make the next podcast better. So thank you all today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and let's go sell some stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Deanna.